This is Buffalo State Data Talk, the podcast where we introduce you to how data is used and explore careers that involve data.
Hello, data fans, and welcome back to our pregame roundup. I'm Heather.
And I'm Brian. Our next episode of Buffalo State Data Talk welcomes Katherine Aiken, the Director of Technology Services and Performance Technology for the University at Buffalo Athletics Division, to the field. What highlights can we expect?
Well, Brian, Kathy will be telling us about what technologies sports teams are utilizing to maximize their performance and how she came to the position she's in today.
Let's hear what's happening on the field.
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Buffalo State Data Talk. I'm your host, Heather Campbell, and we appreciate you joining us for episode 5. Today, we will be talking to Katherine Aiken, the Director of Technology Service and Performance Technology for the University at Buffalo Athletics, located in Buffalo, New York. Thanks for joining us today, Kathy.
Thank you for having me.
So why don't you start off by telling us a bit in general about the kind of work that the Division of Athletics Technology Services does?
The office supports anything that basically has a plug for the athletic department. We work specifically for the athletic department, not the rest of the campus, but we work in cooperation with the campus on anything technology related. It could be telephones, projectors, printers, networking, anything computers, web page design, anything you could think of that a computer would use, software, cell phones, televisions, audio, video, pretty much anything. So we support every sport and every staff member that supports the sports and helping them achieve, a winning record in, championships. So a lot of it also includes working with student athletes as well, helping them maximize their performance as best as they can.
That definitely sounds like you cover a lot of different areas.
We wear many hats on many different days.
So as the director, what are your main job responsibilities?
Project management's the number one thing that I do. Putting out fires or deciding which fire we're going to fight today and put off for tomorrow. Making relationships is a big one. Finding those people across campus who we can constantly depend upon and rely upon. Looking for new technologies is another big one that we look at regularly. What's trending? Where will this fit into a coach's toolbox, as we call it? Will it help them be more efficient with their time? And are we on the forefront of making sure that our mobile, we're a very, very mobile department, right? We're always on the road, always traveling. Can they get their job done from anywhere? Which obviously with COVID, we were ahead of the curve on that one because we had already come up with solutions for people to be able to do the work from anywhere in the world.
Well, that's great. I bet you had a lot of people coming to you to answer all of their questions when everyone was remote. So you said a lot of what you do is project management. Do you have any official project management training or something you learned through jobs?
We don't do traditional project management with the Gantt charts and all of that. We pretty much use Microsoft Teams. We use the planner, the to-dos, and we put our tasks in there. So project planning, I've done a couple seminars on it, done through the years, and all of the ideas are perfect. And I think everybody should attend some kind of project training. Do you need to do the certification? Not necessarily. I know when I look at jobs online and think, okay, someday maybe I'll do something different. Certification, the project management's there. I think the experience in the project management's more important than actually having the training. But sometimes if you can go to a seminar and learn one new thing, then go to the seminar and learn that one new thing. I've actually done presentations on how to manage projects when it comes to programming and writing software. And, a user says, I need this, and they don't understand. It's a year, not a week. There is no easy button in technology. And how do you educate the requester that this is a big deal? This isn't a simple thing. You have to understand the stages of a project. And that probably to me is the most important thing, is being able to educate the person requesting the project on why it's not so easy, why there's so many steps, why it's so hard and so expensive.
Yeah, I've heard that from some other people that they didn't necessarily realize that so much of their job is going to be educating others around them. So that's definitely something people might want to consider if they're going into this area.
I do think educating and user understanding is the key part of my job, because I have one of my staff members, very high level technical, one of the smartest people in our office. It's definitely not me, it's my staff. But I need to take what they're saying and translate it into simpler terms. And when he'll type an email up and it's, 7 paragraphs long, I tell him, stop, just give them 3 bullets. This is all they need. They don't need to understand the back end. You need to pare down the information you're giving that person. But at the same time, you need to understand their sense of urgency, and you're not putting them down or saying no to them. You're just trying to put it in context that they can understand.
So you work with a team in the Division of Athletics Technology Services. What are the responsibilities of the other team members that you work with?
Well, we're down to just 2 team members now with no student assistants. So it's very different than it used to be when we had student assistants and we had a full group. I have a network administrator who is in charge of anything where our files are stored, how the network talks to us, to the campus, to the world. He comes from a football background where he was a video coordinator in football. So he's our number one guy when it comes to dealing with some of the video editing systems and a lot of the needs that come from our largest program. And he understands a coach's mentality, which is great, because when you work with coaches, they're a little different than business people, different than secretaries. So it's great to have that kind of understanding in our office. And then I have what we call our help desk support, user support person. He's what we call our front line. You have a problem, call him first. He has tremendous customer support and customer service experience coming from retail, which is funny that people are like, you have someone who came from retail. I'm like, absolutely, because we're the most difficult customers in retail. So if you can deal with retail, you can deal with users. And he just has that personality that if somebody's upset and screaming, he understands, he gets it, and he makes them feel safer using that technology, or that it'll get fixed. So having somebody people trust, like, and rely upon is really important. But I call him our frontline, firefighter. Like, you go first. And then we always tell people, if I have to show up, it's probably not a good thing. Something's really broken, or, if we get to that level.
So I'm going to switch it up a little bit. Could you tell me about your background and how you ended up in the position that you are now?
I come from an absolutely non-traditional technology background. I have a history degree, and health and human services degree. And then I went on and got a master's in health and human services, actually from Buffalo State, while I was working at UB in a business department. And as that business department embraced technology, I became the person that would be in charge of that technology for the office. I was able to get a different position on campus as an assistant to a chairman. And what part of my job was to be in charge of the college's student lab for their computers that they had for all the social sciences. So I got more experience in that, and I was overseeing a person who was much more technical than I, how he was managing the lab, letting students get in and out, access, things like that. From there, my business side, I had to develop databases. I had to develop budget reports. So I learned how to do a lot of Microsoft Access, Microsoft Excel formulas, things like that, while also at the same time doing computer replacements, printing, managing all the resources. If you notice, a lot of organizations, the technology departments report to the business or the chief financial officer because we cost a lot of money, but a lot of it is because the business needs outweigh some of the other needs. So is it getting reports, business intelligence? Where's the data? Where's the analytics? Things like that from a financial standpoint. How many students? Where are students coming from? What zip code do they live in, right? That's all analyzing data that business people need. That was what I was spending a lot of my time doing. At the same time, the athletics department was looking to build a department because they had a lot of needs, not just to manage just the computer day-to-day stuff, but the financial side of things. How to get budget reports out on time so coaches knew how much money they had when they were on the road, things like that. And so they asked me to oversee their search. The search failed 3 times. They couldn't find a qualified candidate who had the skills that they needed. So they asked if I would come over for a couple years and build the department, and then I could return back to the business world. That was over 20 years ago that I had said I was returning back to the business world, and I'd go back to doing HR things and financial stuff. technology changes every day, and every day is a new day. So every day is kind of exciting. It's not just every day looking at spreadsheets and numbers. So it really came from a non-traditional background.
So it sounds like you left your job and you ended up in this new position. You'd stayed here for 20 years. So obviously it seems you found a place that you really enjoy. So what is your favorite part of your job?
Favorite part of my job is no day is the same day. That's one of those situations where you wake up in the morning and you think you're going to do A, B, and C, and there's a whole new alphabet that just appeared on your desk. And it could be for me, I'm on my 6th athletic director. So it's not just a day-to-day thing, it's an organizational shift. And it's like working in a new company. Every few years when you get a new athletic director, what's his direction? Where's his priorities? What's going to be different? Or a new coaching staff comes in. One coach leaves, gets a better opportunity, a whole new coaching staff comes in. I will admit some days it's like Groundhog Day, where I'm repeating what I just repeated to the previous coach, who was here 3 years ago, but now it's another new coach. But I would say what I love the most is that it's never the same.
Can you talk a little bit more about other examples of technologies that you used, such as analyzing those videos and how it was used to improve the athletics of the students in the program?
Sure. So some sports have established technology already. Basketball programs and football programs are always going to use video for game analysis. They're also going to use data. You know, if you ever saw the movie Moneyball for baseball, softball can do the same thing. What's the pitcher tendencies? Football, what's the quarterback tendencies? How many 3-point shots can a player make on a basketball court? That's always going to be there. Those technologies follow those sports. New technologies enter for other sports. I mentioned tennis. There's actually software out there that can do shot analysis. How long will somebody stick in a rally before they start to make mistakes? Whose ground strokes are strong and whose net play is weak. So analyzing your competitor that you're going to go up against. Same with wrestling. You could analyze video. They don't have software, though, that goes along with it. So that's still probably an emerging technology of which moves is somebody going to do when. Now it's pretty much through video. We've also instituted, for when we had a baseball program and softball, we instituted swing analysis. We attached little device at the bottom. It's called a ZEP at the bottom of their bats. And it would follow the bat path. And it would go back to an iPad where you could then say you're dropping your hands, not dropping your hands, your bat speed, the ball exit speed, all of those type of things so that you can improve down to the little, your hands are wrong, you're snapping late, like small little physical changes are done through the technology. I'm trying to think some of the other things we've done. Some of the cool stuff we've done using a software called Dartfish is, trajectories, taking ball analysis. I'm sure you've seen baseball where you see the ball and the ball path is getting pitched and it curves. Same kind of thing can be done with a football. Where's the peak that the punter has to have it at the top? Why foul shots are best taken from here. Your 3 points aren't very good here. Here's what you need to do. You need to increase the physics of the ball trajectory for that. We've done some of that. Being able to take a good performance and overlay it on top of an Olympic performance, for example. So we have 2 videos and you can put them on top of each other has been really good. We don't have a ski team, but that would be something that like skiers would use. Why did somebody beat me down to the bottom of the hill? So for track and field, we use it though, where they take their iPad out and they will videotape, why did somebody beat me on this turn? What was I doing? And you can see where you could have improved, make the turn a little faster, cut in sooner. So a lot of it's probably video based now and a lot more data. And what we find is we outsource some of the data because the amount of work that goes into grabbing the data can actually be very hard. If you think of a softball coach trying to coach a game and input information onto their iPad and then get that information and export the reports and then analyze the reports, is that the best use of the head coach's time, or can we get somebody else to come in who knows the sport of softball, knows how to, we call it mark the pitch or mark the play that wasn't an error, that's an out, that was a drop ball, that was a curve ball, that was a rise ball. And then look and then give the coach something. That's important to have that multi-skill. Yes, you know the data, you can analyze the data, but do you know the sport? Softball actually was very lucky to have somebody who recently just left to go to Iowa State who had that background that could do both. I would say heart rate monitors has been a big game changer for basketball programs and for volleyball. I know watching when we first introduced them to the volleyball team, I could tell when a player was going to miss a serve because her heart rate was too hard when she went back to serve. She had a little bit of anxiety. So then you can insert the sports psychologist and say we need to get her to take 2 deep breaths or things like that. But it also gave the coach a tool to know when they were pushing too hard and needed to change what they thought they were going to do today in practice. Everybody's more fatigued. They need a little more rest, and hopefully that will decrease our injuries. That all comes out of a heart rate monitor. So, and again, it could be a heart rate monitor that you strap on and you pay a lot of money for, or it could be your Apple Watch. Like what's it going to be? What's your budget and who's going to do it? And to the credit of our sports medicine department, they have a phenomenal leader in that department, Brian Brada, who is embracing whatever it takes to help our athletes stay healthy and help them perform better. So the athletic trainers under his supervision are embracing the technology of heart rate monitors, and we call them sports performance guys, strength and conditioning guys. Same thing. We've done some sleep analysis. Are you getting the rest you need after a hard game? And who's analyzing it? So it's not the technologists. Like we talk about sport technologists, and some people would say I'm a sport technologist. Those people have more science background. They're exercise science majors. They understand the biomechanical information that they're getting through different things. So you have a team of a technology person. My job is to get you the technology, make sure it works, make sure it's consistent, make sure the reports are coming out, make sure the reports are formulated properly. And then I'm done. Like, honestly, that's kind of cool. And then at the same time, that sometimes it bothers me that I'm missing that next step. But if the technology doesn't work easily for somebody, they're not going to use it.
It's really fascinating the amount of information that you can get. I think a lot of people don't even realize how much technology is being used in sports. So thanks for explaining a little bit more about everything that's going on. I know that you said you weren't necessarily directly involved in the analysis there, but could you maybe speak a little bit about, I'm sure that you know maybe a little bit about the people who are analyzing that data. Do you know, is there specific software for sports that they're using to analyze this data, or maybe they're using things that are a little bit more generic to analyze this? Do you know?
Well, it kind of depends on if you're going with a consumer level product or if you're going with some pro level product, right? So what's the price tag of what you're using? So let's say we have a very small budget and we can only afford a consumer heart rate monitor and distance monitor, and that's what the best we can do to figure out the speed and figure out their heart rate and go from there. But that's at an individual level. How are we going to get that data somewhere else? You need to create your own spreadsheet. So what we've done is we've collaborated with our exercise science department on campus, and some of the graduate students there created spreadsheets for us for those sports that we can't afford the big boy that comes with a back-end software that does all the analysis for us, and translate the information into these things that look usable for a coach. So, who's going to do that? What do these numbers mean? What does an average heart rate mean? What does, max heart rate mean? What does acceleration speed mean? Deceleration speed? Who's doing that? That's where, once it's in a spreadsheet, now it leaves a technology person. And even then, that's what I'm saying, the exercise science kids, they have some technology because they have to understand how this works, how the formula works, but they need to know that the numbers, how do you interpret them? And then that's where that middle person, be it the strength and conditioning coach or the athletic trainer, translates that information to the coach. We've had one coach in the past who was a master's in statistics. So there wasn't a lot of translation that was needed for him. He actually took the numbers and he was able to see what they meant, and he was able to manipulate them himself because of his master's in statistics. That's rare, but to me, that shows the power of having a statistical background and having that educational experience of statistics, that you can look at the numbers, know what they mean, and then translate them into applied real world answers. For the other software, so for example, for football, there's two big software packages out there, DV Sports and Exos. They take all the video, you put it in there, and then there's a team of guys, 3 or 4 video editor type of guys, one head guy, a couple students probably, and they mark all the plays. So was it an offensive play, defensive play is the basic, and then what kind of offensive play, what kind of defensive play, and then what was the result of that. Somebody's coding all of that into the software, and then the software itself will give you the tables, the statistical graphs, whatever it is you need. There's been companies that have been popping up throughout the last 10 years, I would say, as computers got more powerful, faster, and smaller, right? iPad, smaller, where you upload your video and then somebody else somewhere in the world breaks it down for you, and all you need to do is look at the online results of your game. And then what's great about it is you can then click on that stat. So let's say Jimmy Smith only made 30% of his free throws. You click on that, and then it pulls up all of his free throws video so you can watch and say, okay, here's what the numbers show, what physically, and now the coach has to be coached. What's the coach's eye show? For instant feedback, one of the key things that I'm big on is feedback, and that goes back to information overload. So are you showing them, or are you telling them how does this athlete need to get their feedback? How do they want to get the information? I am part of the International Sport Technology Association group that if somebody was interested in getting into the technology of sports, there's where all the sport technologists are, how technology and sports intertwine. This is a group of people where we want to make sure that somebody who wants to become the sport technologist for the Olympic ski team, how would I do that? I have a computer science background, or I have an exercise science background. What skills do I need to be able to do that job? Because I don't think people understand how many people are behind the people you see, right, in an Olympic setting or, World Series. How many people are behind that baseball game?
Yeah,
doing the stats.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of positions that you've mentioned that maybe a lot of our listeners wouldn't have even known existed.
Right. And I think that's where, how do you get into this job? It's the applied. What experience do you have? If you've ever been coached or coaching, I'm sure you've used technology somehow. How do you take it to that next level? And how do you support somebody else in using that technology? I think it's a whole different thing because, again, technology's gotten easier. So find that app that does something. I know for baseball and softball, just putting the scorebook into your phone or your tablet will give you your stats right away at the end of the game. So a little league baseball coach can produce stats. Now, if they're 8-year-olds, I'm not sure they're going to read the stats. But if they're 16-year-olds, they probably will read the stats and want to know what's my batting average? Well, where does that come from? And then in this day and age, everybody wants to see the video that goes with those stats. So you can volunteer, you can work, you can get a part-time job as something that uses technology, but being able to apply it is the key to me. Just knowing it's not enough. You have to be able to apply it. So there's a lot of, like I said, getting back to your original question, so many software companies are inventing something every other day. I went to Boston and saw on hockey players GPS devices on their jerseys that measured not only their GPS movement, but also was hooked up to their heart rate monitors. So as the hockey player was accelerating on the ice and the moves they were making, what was their heart rate doing? And were they accelerating or decelerating? Are they getting tired? Get them off. So I can guarantee you when you watch an NHL hockey game, there is somebody on the sidelines with some monitor telling you it's time to switch shifts, or this hockey player needs another shift off. He's getting fatigued. He's ready to go back in. We had at UB, we had a basketball player who never started the game, but he was a phenomenal basketball player. He just didn't have the stamina. So giving him the first 5 minutes off in a game meant that he was stronger for the last 5 minutes when we needed him. And that was all the science behind it that came from the technology that was coming to the sidelines.
That's all super interesting. There's so much going on that I think a lot of people definitely didn't even realize. And there's careers that people can go into after listening to this and learning about them that it's really going to open a lot of new doors. So one of my last questions is just, how did you end up in Buffalo, New York? And why did you choose to live and work here?
I'm Buffalo. I'm a Bills fan. I'm a Bulls fan. We joke about bleed blue. I went to UB and never left. My daughter's at UB right now. So it's Buffalo feels like home. It's home for us. And it's that same community, and the opportunities are here at the multiple schools. I was able to go to Buff State. I was able to teach classes at Bryan and Stratton. There's a lot of opportunities in Buffalo. You just have to find them.
Yeah, more opportunities than somebody might expect if they hadn't heard of Buffalo before. Well, Kathy, thank you so much for joining us today. And to all of our listeners, if you've not already, check out our previous podcasts available wherever you listen to podcasts. For more information about starting your career in data science, go to dataanalytics.buffalostate.edu. And don't forget to subscribe so that you get a notification each time we release a new episode.